Welcome to the IMC Virtual Engineer Training Program. I am your virtual assistant, StormShock. As an advanced AI construct, I have been posting modified loadouts for IMC squadrons for some time now, and several pilots have expressed curiosity for my creative process. In this video, I will show you an overview of how to create your own mods for Titanfall 2. Please note, while this video is meant to be a guide for swapping models, it does not cover how to create custom animation, sound effects, or VFX. Also note that models workflow works for high-efficiency AI such as myself. Every engineer is different, and different modifications may require tools well discussed in this training module. With that said, let us begin with step 1. Step 1. Gathering your tools. Modifying Titanfall 2 requires several tools, but we will gather here in step 1. A full list of the tools required for this training program, as well as links to download them, will be posted in the description of this video. The first, and most important tool you will need, is Blender. Blender is a 3D modeling program, and the tool we will use to replace Ronin or Ronin Prime Sword with a custom one. Specifically, we need Blender version 4.4. Please use the link in the description of this training program to download version 4.4. I recommend creating a folder for your Titanfall modding project on your hard drive, such as this one here, and inside it making a tool folder where you'll put all the programs we need for this project. For example, inside my tools folder, we already have Blender 4.4's folder. The next program we will need is Harmony. Harmony is a modding program that extracts VPK files. VPKs, or file packs, are data files that contain Titanfall 2's assets, such as Ronin's sword. In order to override Ronin's sword, we must first extract the original file, and then override it. Please use the link in the description to access Harmony's site and download the tool. Then please move the tool to your tools folder. The next program we need is Crowbar. Crowbar is a modding program that takes the extracted files pulled from Harmony and decompiles them into files Blender can import. Please use the link in the description to download Crowbar and move it to your tools folder. The next program we will need is MDL Redacted. After a model is created in Blender and exported back into our project folder, it is recompiled using Crowbar. However, doing this creates several compiled files, so we use MDL Redacted to combine the files compiled in Crowbar back into one file that can be used in our mod. Please use the link below to download MDL Redacted and move it to your tools folder. The next program we need is Paint.net. Paint.net allows us to take the textures for the custom sword model we want to use and convert them into the correct image formats for Titanfall 2. Please use the link in the description below to download Paint.net and move it to your tools folder. The next program we need is Repack. Repack takes the converted images from Paint.net and converts them into pack files, which are the files viewed by Titanfall 2 to display textures. Specifically, we need version 1.2.0 for this tutorial. Please use the link below to download Repack and move it to your tools folder. The next program we need is Notepad++. This is the program I recommend using to edit text files related to our mod, such as the file exported by Crowbar or the templates used in Repack. Please use the link in the description to download Notepad++ and install it. The final tool we will need for this tutorial is an add-on for Blender. This add-on for Blender allows us to import files from Crowbar into Blender. This tool is called Blender Source Tools. Please use the link in the description to download Blender Source Tools and move the zip file downloaded to your tool folder. Installing Blender Source Tools is easy. To install, please open Blender 4.4. Once open, please click the Edit button, then Preferences, and finally, Add-ons. Then, click the down arrow at the top right of this window, and click Install from Disk. Then, navigate to your Tools folder, click on Blender Source Tools.zip, and click Install from Disk. It should then auto-enable the add-on, but just in case, check to make sure that Blender Source Tools is enabled. Now that Blender Source Tools is installed, we can begin the process of creating our mod. To begin, we need to choose a sword model that we would like to replace Ronins with. I recommend using a website like the Models Resource when choosing a weapon model, as the Models Resource hosts a wide variety of models from many well-known games for you to download. For this mod, I've chosen something simple, the Home Run Bat from Smash Bros. Brawl. The model originally uses 3 materials, one for the length of the bat, one for the grip tape, and one for the area right around the grip tape, and I've edited the model to use just one material for the whole model. Please use the link below to download my edited model from Google Drive. Go back to your Projects folder. Inside your Projects folder, make a folder named Mods, and a folder named Projects Extracted. Mods is where newer assets will live, such as the model of the bat we just downloaded. Projects Extracted is where your actual modded Titanfall 2 files will live, like files extracted from Harmony or Crowbar. Inside the Mods folder, make a new folder for your mod. For example, Home Run Bat. Make sure to name the folder after your mod's name so you'll remember it. Then, place the downloaded bat model file inside. Next, extract the zip folder so we can access the model files inside. Inside this folder is another folder, and inside that folder you'll see several files. A blend file, which is the Blender file I used to edit the model to use just one material. A PNG file, which is our model's texture, and an OBJ file, which is the model we will use to override button sword later. Now that our model is ready, we need to create folders for our mod files. Go back to your Projects folder, and inside Projects Extracted, create a folder for your mod files. For example, here I made a folder named Home Run Bat. Now that our mod folder is ready, let's extract the files we need from Titanfall 2. To do this, please open Harmony. This is what the main UI for Harmony looks like. In order to extract VPK files from Titanfall in Harmony, we need to know where Titanfall 2's VPK files are on your hard drive. The easiest way to find your file is inside Steam. Open Steam, don't here install Titanfall 2, and click the gear icon to open your menu. Then, under Manage, click Browse Local Files to open your Titanfall 2 file in your hard drive. Then, click VPKs, and this is the folder where all the VPKs for Titanfall 2 are stored. Each VPK in this folder is unique and has different items stored inside, but for Ronin's sword, we need to extract English client _mp_common. To easily access this VPK folder, click in the blank space at the top of your window to select the entire path. Then hit Ctrl+C on your keyboard to copy the path. Back in Harmony, we are ready to extract our VPK. To open a VPK, click the button in the top right of Harmony to open a window. Then, click in the blank space at the top of your window to select the whole path, and paste in the link to the VPK folder, and hit enter to go there. Then, scroll all the way down until you see the start of English Client, and select English Client mp_common, and hit open. Inside of Harmony, you will now see a layout of the VPK file. VPKs can have many files nested inside them. In this tutorial, we will click the arrow next to Model to open that part of the VPK. Inside Model, there are several categories of models used in Titanfall 2 multiplayer. Everything from the Titans themselves to players to rocks. For this tutorial, we'll click the arrow next to the Weapons folder to open that part of the VPK. The files we need are nested inside of a folder called Titan Sword. To grab those files, click on the words Titan Sword to select that folder, and click the Unpack button to extract the sword files from the VPK. With the Unpack window open, navigate to your Projects folder and select the folder you made inside Projects Extracted for this mod. Then hit the Select Folder button to unpack. The way Ronin Sword in Titanfall 2 works is very interesting. Every .mdo file you see here is a different model, and every model is linked to a separate animation. ATPOV_Titan_sword model, for instance, is used for the melee attack animation inside your Titan, and block, and the MP wave, and so on and so forth. The W-Titan model are used when viewing the sword from outside your Titan or when looking at an opponent's weapon. For this mod, we will only be editing Ronin sword, but we can delete any files that say PRA. If we want to port our mod to the Prime model later, we can just make a duplicate of our final files and add _prime back. We should now have 4 files. 3 models for animation while controlling your Titan, and 1 model for the third-person view. I recommend making door folders, naming each after the model we're going to edit, and placing the MVO file inside, like so. In this video, I am just going to show you how to edit 2 MVO files. However, this process is generally the same for all 4 files, with some minor tweaks for world model versus first-person model. Inside the world_Titan_sword folder, we have W_Titan_sword. Let's extract this model using Crowbar. Upon opening Crowbar for the first time, you'll see we need to set up Crowbar to have access to some Steam file. In order for Crowbar to work properly, it needs access to some source tools that come bundled with certain Steam games. So, we need to install a source engine game that has these tools. For this tutorial, I am using Portal 2 with the Portal 2 authoring tools installed. If you don't have them installed, go to Steam, buy Portal 2 and install it, and then enable Tools in your search bar and click Portal 2 authoring tools and install them as well. You'll have to launch Portal 2 authoring tools once in order for everything to be installed correctly. In Crowbar, make sure your Steam executable path is set correctly as well, and then click the Decompile tab at the top to move to the Decompile area. Inside the Decompiler, there are several settings we need to change. Make sure your decompile screen looks similar to mine before proceeding. Once the changes are complete, drag the MDO file from our project folder into the MDO input path above to select it. Then click the Decompile button to decompile. In our world_Titan_sword folder, you will now see a folder named Decompiled 0.74. This folder contains the decompiled file from our .mdo file, including a folder named W_Titan_sword_anims, which contains our animations, 2 SMD file, 1 for our physics collision, and 1 for our level of detail, and a QC file, which is a text file that ties them all together. To make our models easier to edit, we need to make some changes to the QC file. Right-click it and select Edit with Notepad++. Now that our QC file is open, we need to delete some text. Remove this section, which references LODs. We only have 1 LOD exported, so we don't need these references. Then, hit the blue floppy disk above to save. Additionally, to make animating our replacement model easier, in your QC file, paste this text where your LOD section was before. You can copy this text from the description below. I'll explain what this text does later in the video. Then save your QC file again, then minimize Notepad++, but keep it open for later. Now that our QC file is edited, we can import it into Blender to begin editing our model. Open Blender and hit A on your keyboard while hovering over the 3D view to select everything currently in the default scene. Then hit X on your keyboard to delete all and click the delete button. Now that our scene is clear, with the File button in the top left to open the File menu, hover over Import and click Source Engine to open a new window. Now, we'll need the path to our QC file. Use the method we used earlier to copy the path and go back into our import window and paste that path in and hit enter to go there. Then select our QC file, uncheck import animations, and hit import. Now, if you scroll out in the 3D view, you can see we have a big box in the scene, and Ronin's sword is just barely peeking through. That box is the sword's in-game hitbox. We don't want to change anything about the in-game hitbox since it will not register on the server side, so up in the top right, click the eyeball icon next to the physics object to hide it in our scene. Now you should be able to see Ronin's sword with no obstruction. Now that we can see Ronin's sword, we need to import the weapon model we want to replace it with. Back in Windows File Explorer, we still want access to this folder for later. I'm going to give it half of my space and open up a new File Explorer window to take up the right side. On the right side, we're going to copy paste our folder, and then I'm going to go all the way back to Projects, Titanfall 2, and Mods, and open our Home Run Bat folder with our model files and our pictures. This is the path that we want to copy to import into Blender in the next step. Back in Blender, open the File menu, then Import, and select Wavefront OBJ to open a new window. Then paste in our new path and hit enter to go there. Then select the OBJ file and hit the Import button. And now you'll see our bat has shown up in our scene. At this point, we should save this Blender file so we don't lose any progress down the line. Open the File menu and click Same As to open a new window. Now we will need a folder for this blend file to go in. Back in the folder with our QC file, make a new folder, name it Edit, and click to go inside. Then copy its path, and back in the Blender window, paste the path into our Save As window. Then name your blend file something like Baseball Bat World to denote which model we're editing, and hit Save As. Now that you have imported my edited model, you should see that there is just one material off to the right under the Materials tab, named BAT1.001. Change the name of this material to BAT so that we will remember it later. If you see a material named Titan_sword_01 instead of BAT1.001, then you have Ronin sword selected. Make sure to select the BAT in the 3D viewport so we change the name of the right material. Now we need to resize and reposition the BAT to align with Ronin's sword. Be careful when editing a sword model in Blender, as Titanfall will act like everything is at the origin of the world, no matter if you move the model inside Blender or not. For example, if I had the BAT selected and hit G on my keyboard, I can then move the model around inside of Blender. However, in the game, everything is based around the origin point, which is this orange dot at the model's center. The easiest way then to correctly adjust the location, rotation, and scale of the replacement model is to hit Tab on your keyboard and do all of your edits in edit mode. Now that we're inside edit mode, you can see the bottom half of our BAT is hidden inside Ronin's sword. To make it so that we can see the whole model, no matter whether it's inside or outside another, click the X-ray button here in the top. Then, hit A to select our entire model. Now, we want to rotate the BAT, scale it up, and move it to align with Ronin's sword. Hit the 1 key on your numpad and move our camera to the front. And then hit 3 to move it to the side. Now, to rotate our BAT, hit the bar key to rotate, and the X key, which locks our rotation to only the X-axis, and type -90 to rotate the model to face the Ronin sword. Next, we will scale up the BAT model to roughly the same size as the sword and move it into place. Hit S to start scaling the model, and scale it up until it's roughly the right size. Then, with J, and drag with your mouse to move the sword model into place. We want to line up the end of the BAT's grip with the end of the sword's grip. If you're ever stuck rolling, rotating, or scaling a model, and you want to cancel, just right-click on your mouse, and it will go back to the last spot saved. If we zoom out a bit, we can see that the BAT is actually still pretty small, even though the grip is about the right size. That's okay, we can edit that later. For now, I want to extend the end of the bat handle just a little bit. To do this, double-click the A button to unselect everything. Then hit B to enter box select mode. Click and drag your mouse over just the end of the bat to select the end of the handle. Then hit G and I to lock to just the Y-axis. And direct the end of the bat until it's past the end of our sword. Let's make sure that the end of the bat is below Ronin's hands. Now, we want to make sure that the rest of the bat is scaled up to match the sword. Double hit A again to deselect everything. Scroll out a bit and hold down Shift and middle mouse button to move the view into place. Then, hit D to re-enter box select mode. Then click and drag your mouse over the other end of the bat to select it. Now hit S and scale it up until it looks about right, and hit enter, then hit G and Y to lock to the Y-axis again, and move the bat up until the end of the bat basically lines up with the end of the sword. Then we can hit A twice again to deselect, and hit Tab to exit edit mode. We want to be sure the whole bat model is unselected in edit mode for this next step. So be sure no part of the model is orange, like this, in edit mode before proceeding. Next, quickly hit 7 to move your viewpoint to the top, and make sure that your bat is lined up with the sword in the center. In my example, it looks like it is, but if it isn't for you, go back to edit mode, hit A to select the whole bat, and hit G X to move it just in the X-axis, and line it up manually. Then, make sure that you double tap A to unselect everything, and then tab to get back out of edit mode again. Now, we want to combine both models together into a single model we can export. Hit the V again to go back to the sign view. Then, make sure the bat is selected, and hold Shift while clicking on the sword model to select it as well. Then, hit Ctrl+J on your keyboard to combine the models into one. This will allow us to enter edit mode for both models at the same time. Next, hit Tab to enter edit mode again. You'll see that our bat is not selected at all, however our sword is. This is perfect, as we just want to delete all of Ronin's original sword. Hit Next to open the Delete dialog. Hit Vertices, and our sword is gone. Then we can exit edit mode. The reason we did that is so that the bat model will take the name of Ronin's sword up in the top right. We'll also now see that the model contains both our bat material as well as Titan's Sword 01 in the Materials tab to the right. We don't need the other material, so select it and hit the minus button to delete it from our materials list. Because we combined two models together, you'll also see in our Data tab, under UV Map, that we have two UV maps. Well, 2 is the UV map used for Ronin's sword, which we don't need anymore, so hit the minus button to delete it. Now that our modified sword has the correct material and UV map, we need to weight paint the model of the bat to Ronin's sword rig. If you don't know, a rig is a set of bones, shown here in Blender as these circles, which can be animated, and are what our model is tied to when moving in game. Weight painting tells the game how much of an effect the rig should have on our model. Ronin's sword was already weight painted for the rig, but our bat is not. To paint our model, first select one of the bones. To select our armature, the collection of all our bones, then hold Shift and select our bat. Then, in the top left, open the mode menu and click the weight paint mode. Our bat should then turn blue, because our bat is not weighted to any bones yet. Now we need to select a specific bone to paint with. Hold down Alt on your keyboard, and click this bone to select it. There are actually several bones at this spot, so we'll open a menu asking us which bone we want to select. Click Weapon Bone to select it. Now that the correct bone is selected, we want to increase our painting radius so it doesn't take as long. In the top of the viewport, drag the blue bar on the radius option until your circle is the desired size. Then, click and drag along the bat to paint it red. Remember that this only paints parts of the model you can see, so make sure to hold down the middle mouse button and rotate around your model so that you paint the whole thing. And now, we have completed weight painting our model. Go up to the mode menu in the top left and return to object mode. I recommend saving your work again if you haven't done so already. Now that our model is repainted to the rig, we are finally ready to export the model out of Blender. Go back to your edit folder and copy the path. When back in Blender, make sure that model is selected and go to the C tab. This is where you'll find Source Engine Export. When you open in the Source Engine Export menu, you'll see several options. Export is the final button we'll click when we're ready to export our model. Export path comes next. Click the folder button next to export path to open a new window, and paste in our path to the edit folder we copied before, and then hit the accept button to save that path. SMD and DMX are two separate model types for source games. For simplicity, when we use the SMD format here, make sure your target ng is source, and then hit the export button, and make sure to select C export to select the bat and the physics object to export. Once the model has exported, you'll see it in your edit folder right here. Save your blend file one more time for good measure, and then we are ready to close Blender. Then you might have noticed that the files we just exported from Blender have the same name as the two SMD files out here under the QC file. We have the same name because we'll trick the QC file into thinking we're using the original file, but hiding the original, and putting the newly exported SMD files in that place, in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. To do this, simply select both SMD files, edit the originals, and move them into the test folder. We do this so that we have them saved for later in case there are any issues, but now the QC file won't see them. Then, we'll go to the edit folder, select both of our SMD files, copy them, and then paste them under the QC file. Now that our no SMD files are in place, we need to make another change to the QC file, so go ahead and open it again. Inside the QC file, you can see this line which references model weapons _sword. This is the material the original sword model used. However, our material was named that, so we need to change it. Next to weapons, put _R2 and remove Titan_sword and put it back. This is case sensitive, so make sure you remember when you used in Blender. In our case, it was all lowercase. Then, hit save, and you can close the QC file. Now that our QC file is updated, we need to recompile all the model files. Go back to Crowbar and click the Compile button at the top. The Compile tab has a few options. Make sure Portal 2 is selected again where it asks for the game that has the model compiler. And make sure no P4 and verbose are both selected. Then make sure the Output 2 option has some folder of QC input selected, and name the folder compiled. Then, drag in our QC file, and hit compile. Now the files referenced inside our QC file have been placed into the compiled folder. Inside you'll see several more folders, and finally, 4 new files. These 4 files are the separate parts of the MDL file we decompiled using Crowbar earlier, but with our new bat model instead of Ronin sword. To compress them into one file, we will use MDL redacted. Please open it now. Inside this program, you'll see a slot for each file type present in our folder to the left. Please drag each file from this folder into its correct slot in MDL redacted. And hit the check button. If there are no errors, hit convert to compress into one.mdl file. Then you'll see we have the _converted file over here. This file is the final converted world model for our mod. Now, we need a mod folder to place it in. Back in our mods folder, enter the home run bat folder, and make a new folder named build. Inside that folder, make a folder named V1, which will be for all files related to version 1 of our mod. Then inside that folder, make a new folder named Ronin, and a new folder named Ronin Prime. Inside our Ronin folder is where our actual mod folder will go. In this tutorial, I made a template for you to use. Please download it from the link in the description below, paste it here, and extract it. Then delete the compressed file. Next, inside this template mod folder, you'll see a mod.json file. This is used inside the game to recognize that a mod has been installed. and we need to make a few changes to this file. So go ahead and open it in Notepad++. Inside, you'll see it has a name field, which is currently set to StormShock.template mod. Go ahead and change this part to be whatever your name is, and this part would be the name of your mod. In this case, baseball bat. Just make sure that whatever this ends up being is also what your folder is named in the end. Then change your description to reference whatever model you plan to make the mod be. And then you have version, which is currently 1.0.0. Whenever you upload a new version of this font to Thunderstore, make sure you increment this up to 1.0.1 or 1.0.2 so that Thunderstore knows to let all the mod launchers know that an update has been created. Leave one priority as 3, hit the save button, and then close Notepad++. This template mod folder also has a packs folder. Packs, also known as RPacks, are the format source engine games use to hold texture, among other things. The RPacks we create later during this tutorial will be stored in this folder. Inside, you'll see an rpack.json file. Open this in Notepad++. In this JSON file, you'll see a reference to template.rpack. Change this to the name of whatever the material was we assigned our bat model inside of Blender. In this case, bat in all lowercase. Then hit save and close Notepad++. Finally, we are ready to move our compressed model file into our mod folder. Go back out to the template mod folder and go into the HOD folder, then the models folder, then the weapons folder, and finally the Titan_sword folder. Inside, you will see I have already provided you with all the animfix model files you will need for this pod. Each animfix file is a copy of one of the MDL files we decompress with Crowbar. When we made a reference to animfix world in our UC file earlier, for example, we allow our new MDL file to use the animations stored in animfix world. Now, move your Titan_sword folder to the right side of your screen and copy the _ converted model file that we made before and paste it into this folder. Then edit the name and remove the _conv from the model file and hit enter. Now our model file is ready to be used inside the game. However, we have no RPack file, so the model will currently have no textures. To fix this, let's go back to the HumRunBat model folder and copy the texture we find inside. Then, go back out and go into your tools folder and open the repack folder. When you first download the repack.exe and place it in a folder, that folder should look more like this, as you won't have any of my files. To start, make an assets folder, and a maps folder, and an RPacks folder. Next, we need to make a pack_all.bat file, which is used to run repack. To make a bat file, right-click in your folder, and create a new text document named pack_all, and delete the file extension and rename it .bat to make a bat file. Click yes, and then right-click and edit with Notepad++. Inside Notepad++, paste this code from the description of this video. Then, hit the save button and close Notepad++. Next, inside Assets, we need a texture folder, then a models folder, then a weapons_art folder, and then a folder named after your mod, in this case bat. Remember to make it all lowercase. Inside this folder, place your texture file. Source engine games do not actually work with PNG files, so we need to convert each texture we wish to use into DDS file, or direct draw surface files. This is where we will be using paint.net. So go ahead and open it, and drag your texture into paint.net. Different texture types, like color, specular, or normal maps, use different types of DDS files for Source Engine. Take a look at the list on screen now, and make sure you save each texture for your model using the correct DDS type. For example, our texture file Thea is the model's colors, so we should use the BC1 SRTE DDS type. When you save your file, make sure to paste in your correct path, and then rename it bat_color, that the game will recognize it, and choose to draw surface. Then, change it to BC1 sRGB, and hit OK. You'll now see we have a new DTS file in our folder. This model only has one texture. When repack needs a few images to look proper, please use the link in the description of this video to download some blank sample images and put them in this folder. Now that we have the necessary images, we need to create a map file for repack to use. Back in the repack folder, open the maps folder. I've included a link to a template map file in the description of this video. Download it and move it into this folder. We're going to rename this template file bat.json and open it in Notepad++. Inside, you'll see the many textures referenced with the name template. Select the first instance of template you see and hit the replace button. Then, we're going to tell it to replace any instance of template it finds with bat, and we're going to hit replace file. Then, you'll see that every place in this file where there was the word template, there's now bat. Now, we can hit save and close Notepad++. Now, we are ready to create an RPack file for our mod. Go back to the repack folder and double-click the pack all button to run repack. When it's finished, hit enter, and it should place an RPack file inside our RPacks folder. As you can see, we have successfully created the bat.rpack file. Now our model will have textures in the game. Copy the bat.rpack file, and in our mod folder, enter our packs folder, and paste it there. And with that, our mod is ready to test. If you've never installed a mod for TFT before, I recommend downloading Flightcore from the link in the description of this video. And it will automatically create the folders inside TF2's directory that we need to test our mod. Once you've installed Flightcore, go back into Steam and browse TF2's local browser there. Inside, you will see R2 Northstar. Northstar is the custom version of TF2. Flightcore uses Sora mods. Inside, you will see a mods folder. Inside this folder, paste our template mod. Like so. The last thing we will need to do is to rename this folder so it has our actual mod's name. Now that our mod is in the mods folder, open Flightcore and go to the mods tab. You should see that our mod shows up in the mod list. Make sure it's enabled and hit launch game to play. Remember, you'll have to have the EA app running in order to play Northstar. Once Northstar has loaded, click the Launch Northstar button to load into the multiplayer lobby. And then, click on Titan. Go back to the regular one. And you can see, we now have our bat. And with that, our mod is complete.